It is that time in the program to take stock in what we've heard throughout the meeting, from the very poignant personal testimonials to the remarkable advances that MTM has made over the last years, presented at the beginning of Dr. Sun's presentation, to the detailed scientific results you've heard from so many, and of course the critical large-scale collaboration efforts that are currently underway. So now, in order to provide a summation of the meeting and address some of the key next steps, our distinguished MTM panel here, of leadership panel I would call it, have each presented a question that they think is important and pertinent to the summation of this, that they are going to give us some of their opinions on and so forth. So here what we're going to do, there's just, as we come into summer here, one question for each of the individuals. And we will, they will enlighten us on some of their thoughts here in that regard. I'm going to start with Patrice. Patrice, how do we address the bottleneck of going from individual human sample data sets to improving efficiency of biomarker and drug development?
Thanks, Lloyd. I think, so we've heard all day relative to the fact that what we're doing is important for the patient, and we're gathering a lot of data, a lot of information, but in the end, there is this sort of death valley in terms of getting to the patient, getting the treatments to the patient, to the finish line. We've heard of the timing issue, and so I think all of this for me highlighted the fact that we're at the right place, starting to get some really important information and data collected and globally between all of us, and that really we need a system that changes the mindset. We heard that just a couple minutes ago, relative to incentivize collaborations, the fact of sharing data, working together with the different data sets, the individual data sets that are generated, so that we can really get the meat from it, so that then we can speed up the work relative to better understanding this through people like Brian and Ali, use the new tools that are available to us to really go through this much faster and identify the next steps, so that we can help then our pharma partners and get it to the patient in a timely fashion.
Well, I think this is an, oh.
No, I was just going to add to that. In some ways, you know, what Mary Hannah had just focused on, which was the collaboration, the importance of consortia and coming together, and the way in which we've organized with the platform and discussing with Ali and his team about how we get things up into the cloud. It really is almost, you know, we've made a commitment to kind of crowdsourcing a cure. And we just have to find the mechanisms to generate the data and make it shareable in ways that can advance the science.
And for me, at least, one of the very exciting aspects of that is to see so many efforts coming together here today that are already focused on that understanding and making real progress in that regard. I think that, you know, 4 years ago when we started, that was sort of a pipe dream, and now it's clearly becoming a reality that's being worked on. Next question is to Tom. Shorter question, but perhaps a longer answer. How can we incentivize collaboration and integration of clinical data?
Well, thanks. You obviously wrote that question before the last session, but it was fantastic to see that really being the summation and the integration of many people coming at this problem from different perspectives. It's important to actually, or helpful perhaps, to think back where this started in 2017 and a couple years after that, where we somewhat naively thought that we would change a couple things and then we'd be all set. But there's so many dimensions to having new understanding of the disease, new ways of measuring it, and let alone finding targets and developing drugs and then getting them through clinical trials and the regulatory process. It's an incredibly complex process. But really the next, it would seem one of the major next steps, whether it's in target identification or any other aspect of the process, that it's going to require a lot of very open work and integration of data. So that there will have to be very meaningful and tangible incentives. That includes financial reward for people who invest in it. So the companies have to succeed, and well, I'm talking about the drug companies or the whatever therapy companies, and their success is our success, and the success for patients. There are precedents for this type of integration. What you've heard about in past years from Dr. Matthias Kretzler here in his work, his international work on kidney disease, shows that consortia like this can work, bring new targets to trial, and really change and make progress. So, but at the same time, as we've learned from just the complexities of the contracting for protocols AR and AS, as Jenny said, you said this morning, Jenny, there's exponential complexity to get between all the different entities. So we have to agree to put up with each other and work together and have friendly discussion, friendly fights about what's important, and perhaps that raises we can have, as part of that discussion, we think about what entity actually holds the data. And maybe learning from people like Brian Athey about who analyzes the data or can help with the output of the data. So, anyway, thank you all very, very much for keeping the focus on the patients. And if we do that, we'll succeed.
And I think one of the other really promising but also challenging things is this landscape is going to continue to evolve and ever faster. Obviously, progress is coming along at speeds that were inconceivable even at the beginning of our careers, and that's going to continue. And trying to keep up with the technology and evaluate it is going to be a really promising but also challenging task. All right, for the final question here to the team, to Jenny. In the clinical research space, what is needed to most efficiently get novel, vision-preserving, and restoring therapies to patients with diabetes?
Well, I think, one of the major themes, and I think the MTM vision approach has been very much the desire to provide tools to the community, to encourage the science through providing accelerators, infrastructure that enable people to solve these problems in their own ways, in their own time, and using innovative things that perhaps all of us combined in this room might not think of. And as part of that, I think addressing the current large evidence gaps in DRD, validating new endpoints so that we can increase the efficiency of clinical therapeutics evaluation are really important. And we've heard, Lloyd, you talked about the fact that retinal non-perfusion is probably a measurable ways along the roadmap to perhaps regulatory approval, while there are still some unmet needs that are clearly defined and that we can now address together. So I think there are some, a basket of promising variables. Fabio talked about some of the things in the BRIDGE study in their retinal ischemia work group, including DRIL, including DROL, and again, retinal non-perfusion that are exciting, that we need to combine our efforts towards understanding better whether or not we can truly validate them across studies. But I think what this all comes down to is, and very much in line with what Tom just said, is the need to continue to build consensus across all the stakeholders in this area, which are many: our patients, their advocates, our clinicians, our researchers, our industry collaborators, the regulatory folks, all of these, to to make sure that we not only align on the pathway towards addressing these evidence gaps and ways in which we're going to validate endpoints, but also then, as Chris German so articulately spoke about this morning, to encourage adoption of whatever new knowledge or therapies or anything that we're proposing as an outcome of this work.
All right, at this point then, I would like to sincerely thank everyone who's contributing to this effort and to thank the MTM leadership that you see up here for the opportunity to allow me to participate in this endeavor, which really I think is making progress and accelerating our eventual goal to a time when we do not have visual loss from diabetes. And so now I'll turn it over to Dr. Levine himself for his final thoughts, comments, and words of wisdom.
So, when we started the conversation today, we talked about, direction, focus, and how do we measure our progress. And so what is the what next? And from a directional perspective, it's consistent with what we started with, today. And that's now really, we have to combine the greater understanding that we're generating of the structure and function and biology of the retina in diabetes to better define the pathophysiology and progression of diabetic retinal disease, and thereby, and this is the important thing, accelerate the identification of new therapeutic targets, and then the development of new medical products that can eliminate vision loss from diabetic retinal disease. I mean, it really all starts and ends with people who are living with diabetes, living with diabetic retinal disease and vision loss, and those who are at risk, for it. So at the end of the day, everything that we do, really, the target is to identify targets that then are able to be developed further to improve vision health and outcomes. I'm not going to go through all this. What we're going to do is we are going to write up, the proceedings, today, and we'll probably develop a newsletter for, to share with everyone who participated and others, and we'll outline some of the specific milestones that we've identified out of this meeting and in our meetings tomorrow and with our external scientific advisory board, and we'll share that, with everyone. But I think that as I guess I've just said, you've all seen this picture before. This is Mary at age 40 dancing a pas de deux with Ben Vereen, and I always marvel at how extraordinary her form is and the elevation that she gets, in that effort. And then, of course, you've heard me say that within 8 years, she really wasn't able to do this because of her vision loss from diabetes. But ultimately, we're going to measure our success by improved retinal health and vision outcomes in people with diabetes. And just to finish, this is, again, another one of my wedding pictures. This is the cast members of the very successful, extraordinary, iconic Mary Tyler Moore show, who were able to attend, the wedding. And so the reason why I share this now is what they created was something extraordinary, something lasting, something that had never been seen before, something very, very special. And that was because of the great talent of the individuals, but their understanding that in order to create what they were able to create, it's all about the ensemble. It's all about the collaboration. It's all about Mary's leadership and the tone that she set and the group that she organized and who all shared the same determination and focus, to create something memorable. For us, it's to eliminate vision loss from diabetes. So I really thank you all for being here, for being part of that ensemble, being part of that collaboration to improve the lives of people with diabetes and diabetic retinal disease. So thank you all.